In the mid-1980s, rally racing had become absolutely insane. Group B regulations allowed manufacturers to build virtually anything they wanted, as long as they made 200 road cars for homologation. Ford wanted in on this madness, so they called up two Formula One legends, Tony Southgate and John Wheeler, and gave them a simple brief: build the fastest rally car on Earth. What they created was the RS200, a mid-engined all-wheel drive monster that looked like a spaceship compared to the rear-wheel drive escorts Ford had been campaigning. The development took place at Ford Motorsport in Boreham, UK, starting in 1984. Ghia built the lightweight fiberglass bodywork, while Ford Cosworth developed a turbocharged 1,803 cc inline-4 engine, producing 250 horsepower for the road and up to 450 horsepower in racing trim. But Ford wasn't satisfied with just being competitive. They wanted to dominate. So they created the Evolution variant, and this is where things got truly ridiculous. The Evolution used a larger 2,137 cc version of the Ford Cosworth engine, developed by Brian Hart. The bore grew from 86 mm to 90 mm, and the stroke increased from 77 mm to 84 mm. This bigger engine, designated BDTE, produced 580 horsepower at 8,000 revolutions per minute in typical trim. But when the boost was cranked up to maximum, it could deliver an absolutely mental 815 horsepower. To put this in perspective, we're talking about 1986, when the Ferrari Testarossa made 390 horsepower and the Lamborghini Countach produced 455 horsepower. The RS200 Evolution was making nearly double the power of these Italian exotics in a car that weighed just 2,600 pounds. The performance figures were equally insane. In testing, Stig Blomqvist managed a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 3.07 seconds, a world record that stood for 12 years. Even the road-going versions could hit 60 miles per hour in just 3.3 seconds and reach speeds over 200 miles per hour. The all-wheel drive system put power down through a 5-speed manual transmission, with independent double wishbone suspension and twin dampers at each corner. The car featured some brilliant engineering touches too. The entire rear half of the body was hinged, opening like a clamshell to reveal the entire engine bay. The transmission was mounted ahead of the front axle for better weight distribution. Ford even used Sierra windshields and tail lights to keep costs reasonable. Ford unveiled the RS200 at the Turin Motor Show in November 1984, and homologation was approved on February 1st, 1986. They built 152 complete cars to meet the 200-car requirement for Group B eligibility. But then came the Evolution models, and here's where the story gets really exclusive. Only 24 RS200 Evolution cars were ever produced. 24. To put that in perspective, Ferrari made over 7,000 Testarossas. These Evolution models are now worth astronomical sums. One sold for $550,000 at a 2017 Bonhams auction, and another brought £486,000 at iconic auctioneers in November 2023. But the RS200's racing career was tragically brief. The car's best World Rally Championship finish was third place at the 1986 Rally Sweden, with Kalle Grundle driving. However, the RS200 became involved in the accidents that would doom Group B forever. During the 1986 Portugal Rally, an RS200 crashed into spectators, killing 3 people. Another RS200 crash in Germany killed co-driver Michael Weider. These tragedies, combined with other Group B accidents, led to the category being banned after just one full season. The RS200 Evolution, with its 800 horsepower potential, never got the chance to show what it could really do in competition. Today, the RS200 Evolution remains one of the most forgotten supercars of the 1980s. Most of the 24 examples remain locked away in private collections, rarely seen by the public. It's a car that was simply too fast, too extreme, and too tied to tragedy to achieve the recognition it deserved. While Porsche was busy developing the high-tech 959 with its computer-controlled all-wheel drive system, a small German company in Pfaffenhausen had a different idea. Alois Ruf believed that more power and less weight would beat sophisticated electronics every time. He was about to prove it in spectacular fashion. The Ruf CTR, later nicknamed Yellowbird by Road and Track magazine editors, first appeared in 1987. But this wasn't just another tuned Porsche. Ruf started with the naturally aspirated 911 Carrera 3.2, not the heavier 930 Turbo, specifically to keep weight down. Each car began life as a factory, 911 3.2 purchased directly from Porsche, then shipped to Ruf's facility for a complete transformation. The heart of the Yellowbird was a heavily modified 3.4-liter flat-six engine fitted with twin KKK turbochargers. The official power output was listed at 469 PS. That's 463 horsepower. But most examples actually produced closer to 500 horsepower. Torque was a massive 408 pound-feet, available in a rush that would snap your head back. What made the CTR special wasn't just the engine, it was the complete package. Ruf fitted their own 5-speed manual transmission, a significant advantage when Porsche was still offering only 4 speeds in their turbo models. The suspension was thoroughly reworked, massive 13.0-inch Brembo brakes were installed, and the wheels were upsized to accommodate wider Dunlop tires. Weight reduction was obsessive. Aluminum replaced steel for the doors, engine cover, and front hood. The front and rear bumpers were made from lightweight fiberglass. Interior components were stripped out wherever possible. The final weight was just 2,535 pounds, nearly 400 pounds lighter than a standard 930 Turbo. When Road and Track got their hands on a CTR for testing, the results were staggering. The Yellowbird accelerated from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3.65 seconds and reached 100 miles per hour in 7.8 seconds. But the really impressive number was the top speed, 211 miles per hour, achieved during testing at Volkswagen's Era Lessien 15.5-mile oval track. This made the CTR the fastest production car in the world, beating the Porsche 959, Ferrari Testarossa, and Lamborghini Countach in head-to-head testing. Only 29 CTRs were built with full roof VINs, making them factory cars rather than conversions. An additional 20 to 30 customer cars were converted from existing 911, bringing total production to somewhere between 59 cars worldwide. At $142,900, when new, equivalent to about $362,000 today, they were expensive but cost half what Ferrari was charging for comparable performance. But the CTR's real claim to fame came in 1989, when a simple company promotional video changed automotive culture forever. Ruf commissioned a film called Faszination on the Nürburgring, featuring test driver Stefan Roser lapping the legendary German circuit in a yellow CTR. The video shows Roser driving without a helmet, wearing street clothes and what appear to be loafers, wrestling the rear-wheel drive Yellowbird around the Nürburgring in clouds of tire smoke. The video was mesmerizing. Here was this businessman-looking driver, completely calm, sliding a 500-horsepower Porsche through the world's most dangerous racetrack like it was a Sunday drive. He achieved an 8-minute 5 seconds lap time while making it look almost effortless, even though the car was clearly on the absolute edge of control. Car and Driver later called this video the Debbie Does Dallas of car videos, and they weren't wrong. In the pre-internet era, VHS and Betamax copies of the film were traded among enthusiasts like underground currency. It became the foundational video of automotive culture, inspiring countless imitators and making the Nürburgring globally famous. The video's influence extended far beyond the 1980s. It appeared in video games like Forza and Gran Turismo, and is still considered a benchmark for automotive cinematography. Many credit it with starting the entire genre of viral automotive content that dominates social media today. Yet despite its world-beating performance and cultural significance, the Ruf CTR remains largely forgotten. Part of this is due to Ruf's status as a smaller manufacturer compared to Porsche or Ferrari. The extreme rarity also means few people have actually experienced the car. Most of the 29 factory examples remain in private collections, rarely appearing at shows or events. The Yellowbird represents something pure that's been lost in modern automotive development: raw analog performance with no electronic safety nets. It was a car that demanded skill and respect, rewarding those brave enough to explore its limits while punishing any lack of attention. In an era of computer-controlled supercars, the CTR's honest, terrifying character seems almost quaint. While BMW's M division was still finding its feet in the early 1980s, another German company was already building cars that would embarrass most supercars. Alpina Burkhard Bovensiepen GmbH Plus Company, KG, had a special relationship with BMW. They weren't just a tuner, but an actual registered manufacturer with their own VIN plates and dealer network access. In May 1982, Alpina introduced something extraordinary: the B7S Turbo Coupe. Based on the gorgeous BMW 6 Series E24 platform, this wasn't just a modified BMW. It was a complete reimagining of what a grand touring car could be. The foundation was BMW's 3.5-liter M30 inline-six engine, but Alpina's engineers completely transformed it. They fitted a KKK K27 turbocharger with variable boost control, allowing between 0.6 and 0.9 bars of pressure, depending on driving conditions. The compression ratio was lowered to 7.3, one to handle the forced induction, and custom-forged pistons were installed, along with a redesigned exhaust manifold and air-to-air intercooler system. Electronic ignition with a custom ECU managed the complex fueling and timing requirements. The result was 330 horsepower at 5,800 revolutions per minute, a figure that sounds modest today, but was absolutely staggering in 1982. To put this in perspective, the Ferrari 308 GTB made 240 horsepower, while Porsche's 911 Turbo produced 300 horsepower. The Alpina was making more power than nearly every supercar on the market. Even more impressive was the torque delivery. The B7S Turbo produced 500 Newton-meters, that's 369 pound-feet, available from just 3,000 revolutions per minute. This meant effortless acceleration in any gear, the kind of crushing mid-range power that makes highway overtaking almost comically easy. The drivetrain featured a 5-speed manual transmission and rear-wheel drive, with an optional limited slip differential for customers who planned to explore the car's performance potential. The chassis received upgraded suspension components, while massive ventilated disc brakes, 300mm front and 284mm rear, with 4-piston front calipers, provided stopping power worthy of the performance. Measuring 187.4 inches long and 68.1 inches wide, the B7S Turbo wasn't a small car. At 3,384 pounds, it wasn't particularly light either. But with 330 horsepower pushing that weight, the power-to-weight ratio worked out to 215 horsepower per ton. Excellent for the early 1980s. The performance figures reflected this capability. 0 to 60 miles per hour took just 5.4 seconds, while the metric 0 to 62 miles per hour run required 5.9 seconds. Top speed was an impressive 162.7 miles per hour, faster than most sports cars of the era, and achieved with the refined comfort of a luxury grand tourer. Alpina fitted their distinctive wheels and subtle exterior modifications, but the B7S Turbo Coupe looked remarkably similar to a standard 6 Series. This was intentional. The car was designed for customers who wanted supercar performance without attracting unwanted attention. The interior received Alpina-specific treatments, but again, the changes were subtle rather than dramatic. This was a car for covering vast distances at very high speeds, while maintaining the comfort and refinement expected from a BMW. Here's where the story gets really exclusive. Alpina built only 30 B7S Turbo Coupes in 1982, 30 cars total. This followed an even smaller run of 60 B7S Turbo sedans, making the entire B7S program extremely limited, even by 1980s standards. The cars were sold through select BMW dealers worldwide and came with full factory warranty coverage. Alpina's unique status as a registered manufacturer meant these weren't aftermarket conversions. They were legitimate factory cars with proper documentation and support. Today, the B7S Turbo Coupe is almost impossibly rare. Current market values approach $300,000 for good examples, and finding one for sale is extremely difficult. According to recent auction data, only one example has been sold in the United States in the past 5 years. This rarity has contributed to the car being largely forgotten, even among BMW enthusiasts. The E24 6 Series itself is somewhat overlooked compared to other classic BMWs, and the Alpina variants are even more obscure. Unlike BMW's M cars, which received extensive publicity and marketing support, Alpina products remained exclusive and understated. The B7S Turbo Coupe represented the pinnacle of 1980s German Grand Touring performance. It offered more power than most dedicated sports cars, while maintaining the comfort and refinement for long-distance travel. The variable boost system provided flexibility between economy and performance, while the turbocharged engine delivered the kind of effortless power that made Autobahn cruising at 150 miles per hour feel relaxed. Alpina's influence on BMW's later development cannot be overstated. Many innovations that appeared in subsequent M cars were pioneered by Alpina years earlier. The concept of factory-backed performance modifications, the dealer network support, and the focus on complete engineering solutions rather than simple power increases all traced back to Alpina's approach. The B7S Turbo Coupe remains one of the most exclusive and forgotten high-performance cars of the 1980s. With just 30 examples produced, it's rarer than most modern hypercars, yet costs a fraction of what collectors pay for contemporary Ferraris or Porsches. It represents a lost era when small manufacturers could challenge the established order and win. In 1987, General Motors faced an embarrassing problem. Their flagship Corvette was being humiliated by European supercars in every magazine comparison test. The L98 5.7-liter V8 produced just 240 horsepower, pathetic compared to Ferrari's 380 horsepower Testarossa or Porsche's 282 horsepower 911 Turbo. GM had tried developing their own turbo system, but abandoned the project as too complex and expensive. That's when Corvette chief engineer Dave McClellan made an unprecedented phone call to Reeves Callaway in Old Lyme, Connecticut. GM had been watching Callaway's success with twin turbocharged Alfa Romeo V6 engines and wondered if the similar magic could work on the Corvette's V8. What happened next was unique in automotive history. GM gave an external manufacturer their own RPO code, RPO B2K, marking the only time Chevrolet had ever granted this status to an outside company. The arrangement was brilliant in its simplicity. Customers could walk into participating Chevrolet dealers and order a regular Corvette with the B2K option. The car would be built at Bowling Green as normal, then shipped to Callaway's Connecticut facility for transformation. After conversion, it would return to the dealer with full GM warranty coverage, plus additional guarantees from Callaway. Reeves Callaway and his team didn't just bolt on a couple of turbochargers and call it done. The B2K conversion involved over 2,000 new parts and represented a complete re-engineering of the L98 engine. Forged pistons and crankshaft replaced the stock components, 4-bolt main bearing caps were installed, and the lubrication system was completely redesigned. Twin turbochargers with intercoolers were mounted in the engine bay, fed by a sophisticated fuel management system that included secondary injection for emissions compliance. This was crucial. The B2K cars had to meet all federal emissions requirements while delivering supercar performance. For 1988, the power output was 382 horsepower with 562 pound-feet of torque. To understand how significant this was, consider that the 1988 Ferrari Testarossa made 390 horsepower but only 361 pound-feet of torque. The Callaway had nearly identical peak power but over 200 pound-feet more torque, and it achieved this while costing roughly half what Ferrari charged. Performance testing revealed the true capability of the B2K Corvette. Car and Driver tested one with race driver Bobby Rahal behind the wheel, achieving 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.7 seconds and a quarter-mile time of 13.2 seconds. Top speed was 178 miles per hour in production form, though early test versions were limited to 161 miles per hour. These numbers put the Callaway Corvette in legitimate supercar territory. It was faster than the Ferrari Testarossa, Lamborghini Countach, and Porsche 911 Turbo in straight-line acceleration, while costing significantly less than any of them. The pricing structure was straightforward, but expensive. The B2K option cost $27,000 in 1988, added to the base Corvette price of about $28,000 for a coupe. This brought the total cost to around $55,000. Substantial money, but still cheaper than comparable European exotics. Production numbers tell the story of exclusivity. In 1988, Callaway built just 125 twin-turbo Corvettes total, with 105 of these being official RPO B2K cars ordered through dealers. The complete B2K program from 1987 through 1991 produced between 497 and 509 cars, depending on the source, making them significantly rarer than most exotic cars of the era. What made the Callaway Corvette special wasn't just its performance, it was the complete integration of the modifications. These weren't crude aftermarket conversions, but sophisticated engineering solutions that maintained all the Corvette's original functionality: air conditioning, power accessories, emissions compliance, and reliability were all preserved while adding massive performance capability. The program's credibility was enhanced by the Sledgehammer project, Callaway's ultimate expression of their twin-turbo technology. Working with John Lingenfelter and using Cosworth components, they built an 880-horsepower monster that set a world record by reaching 254.76 miles per hour in 1989. Remarkably, this car was driven to and from the test track on public roads, demonstrating the reliability of Callaway's engineering approach. The Sledgehammer held the title of world's fastest street-legal car for 11 years, from 1989 until 2000. It proved that American engineering could compete with anything Europe produced, and it did so using proven V8 technology rather than exotic multicam engines or complex all-wheel drive systems. Despite its impressive performance and unique status in automotive history, the Callaway Corvette remains largely forgotten today. Part of this is due to confusion about its heritage. Is it a Chevrolet or a Callaway? The external manufacturer status creates questions about authenticity that don't exist with factory-built supercars. The limited production numbers also contribute to obscurity. With fewer than 500 B2K cars built over 5 years, they're far rarer than contemporary Ferraris or Porsches, yet they trade for much less money in today's collector market. The Callaway twin-turbo Corvette represented something unique: American supercar performance with European exclusivity, backed by factory warranty and dealer service support. It proved that small-scale engineering excellence could compete with the world's most expensive exotics while maintaining the practicality and reliability that made Corvettes popular in the first place. The RPO B2K program demonstrated GM's willingness to acknowledge external expertise and embrace innovation from outside sources. This collaborative approach influenced later performance partnerships and showed that American automotive engineering could achieve world-class results when given proper support and resources. Today, the 1988 Callaway twin-turbo Corvette stands as perhaps the most forgotten American supercar of the 1980s. With 382 horsepower, sub-5-second acceleration, and 178 mph capability, it matched or exceeded every exotic car of its era while costing half as much. Only 125 were built in 1988, making them rarer than most modern hypercars, yet affordable enough for serious collectors to actually enjoy driving.